Big block Chevrolet belongs to Damon out of the Rogue 405. Thought I'd get a little video here. Motor came back in the shop. It blown up. Pulled the pan on it. Picture of the rod. Didn't spin a bearing. The breakage, it looks like it just broke it in the beam. The bolts are intact. Another piece of the rod here, the cap, the pin's gone out of it. This is a bearing that came out of that rod. Bearing looks perfect. Quite a bit of carnage there. See up here, beat up down in the cam area, a little bit up on the block. Kind of bounced around, got a few other spots. But overall, for the explosion, didn't kick the side out of the block on either side, which is nice. Be a lot easier to repair. Kind of messed the crankshaft up here pretty good, which is fixable. The top part of the rod here tore up pretty good. The rod next to it took quite a bit of abuse. You can see where it gouged a big chunk out of it. But I'm going to go through everything here, see what we've got. The rest of the rods look good. Bearings look good in all the others. No issues as far as bearings go. I think maybe just too many passes on the rods. Gathered up all the pieces of the rod. Here's the bearing out of it. Everything's been washed up. I mean, the bearing looks great. Here's one out of another rod. Really looks good. Top and bottom really look good on them. Here's the main bearings. I don't think you could ask for anything better out of them. The number 2 bearing is touching the radius a little bit. I'll fix that, chamfer the bearing a little on it, but it's not like it's a huge deal. Now let's get back to the rod. Okay, looking at this rod, both bolts, like I showed you earlier, are unbroken. They're bent though, and I think the reason that it broke the bottom of the rod was once it broke it in the beam up here, this piece was slinging around on the crankshaft, and when it came around and whacked the side of the block, as you can see, quite a bit of carnage on the beam part of it. It broke the cap off of it, split the side of the rod out like this on each side, and it bent the bolts. It's not a rod problem. I want to make that very clear that this is not what I would consider a rod failure. Something created this issue. If you look up here at the pin end, it is wallered completely out. I mean, hopefully y'all can see how bad it is wallered out. And that is not due to the rod breaking. The top of the piston hammered the head pretty good. The pin bores are wallered out. I can't really check it on this piston. It's distorted, but I pulled the other rods and pistons apart and checked the pin bores on those. And the pin bores in the piston and the rods are egg-shaped. I'll show you a couple of these other rods here. You can see it's not wallered on that one side. You flip this rod over and check this side, and you can see that it's wallered. Some of them are a lot worse than others. This one, pretty bad. You can see it is beat up pretty good. Didn't hurt it too bad. Just beat it up. I fixed a lot worse than this, so not a major deal. But we'll get her fixed up. Show you some pictures of it. Got this sleeve out. I set them up in the boring bar. If the sleeve is distorted real bad on the bottom, I'll set it up in the boring bar and cut it thin. And this is the sleeve here. You cut it thin enough, it just collapses and you can just pull it out. So That's how I get the sleeves out if they're tore up real bad on the bottom. I've got to pull this sleeve out. You can see right here where never lost a head gasket, but it was working on losing it. I'll show you all how I pull a sleeve out. Nice little setup here. It's kind of odd looking, but it works real well. Get it kind of leveled up here. Got a tool that fits in the bottom of the sleeve. They make slide hammers that they sell designed to do this, which work pretty good, but this is a little easier, not as hard on the guy pulling the sleeve. A little tension on it here. There's not 100% for sure why it's that way, but they had some issues in Virginia. They've had a couple of issues, small issues, at another couple of the races. You know, it's not anybody's fault. It is racing. When you're dealing with the ECUs and all of the stuff that you can adjust on these cars, all it takes is one or two little things to really create some issues. So they've had a couple of issues, and we thought we were okay, but apparently it was a lot worse than what we thought. Learn from your mistakes. You know, if we have these issues again, the motor will definitely come out and come apart, and we'll check some stuff. We needed, 2 more passes on it to get to the brake, and that didn't happen. Once it gets popped loose, it goes ahead and slides out pretty easy. A lot easier than using a slide hammer. If you're at the racetrack, yeah, this might not be the ideal setup. That's it. Now you get a sleeve out. And it doesn't hurt the sleeve pulling it out this way. Go back here and clean up this little area just a little bit. Got a small cutter. Don't want to take any more material than I need to. Another little trick I do, I just put a ball valve on the end of my die grinder. I can adjust my speed. Ball valve. Works real well, easy. Got it cleaned up just enough to get the impurities kind of out of it. I'll clean this off right here and get the welder set up, and we'll put some weld on it. Got it down where it looks pretty good right now. Hit it with the sanding block. See what we got. I'm going to call that good. Trim up where the sleeve fits here, and we'll be ready to put some sleeves back in. Warm the block up, and it will swell up enough to just drop the sleeve. There we go. Got it drop down in there. You just have to be easy with it. And you got the repair done. Everything looks pretty good. Let this stuff cool off. Got that one in. One little window right here in it. Not too bad. A couple little dents. Straighten this stuff up pretty good. When you straighten up, beat up, it'll straighten up, beat it out a little bit. Got the pan welded up. Wasn't a big deal to do that. Got the rail straightened back out on it. Show you the inside. I weld usually on both sides, inside and out. Got the windage tray straightened up, maybe a little more deburring on it. Got my O-ring tool set up in a boring bar. Gonna cut O-ring in these two sleeves, and then we can hone the block. I'll leave about 11 or 12 thousandths standoff on the wire. Use the 43 wire. Got it moved to the other cylinder. Alright. Got O-ring groove cut in it. There, you can see it. Put some wire in it, and I'll set this thing up and hone it. Got the block all cleaned up, ready to start putting it back together. Got the cam stuck in it. Got the bearing clearances all checked. Everything pretty much back like it was. The cam's in it, turns nice and free. Roll it over here. Let you look at the repair on the deck. That's where I repaired the deck. It's like brand new. Still have to put the O-ring wire in 2 cylinders on this side. Okay, got Damon's motor all together except for one rocker arm. Waiting on it to show up. Everything went back together good. I didn't want to show any videos of putting it together. There's a few things that I didn't want to share. But got the heads back. Everything's good to go. Should be at Tulsa without a problem. Pretty much ready to go. You're down here where the pan did a little repair work on it, but it's ready to go except for one rocker arm.